for reasons that I had already mentioned. So we began to continue operations against these kinds of enigma, that is, continue to investigate them under the rubric of advanced training, but keep the information to ourselves.
Following a series of military-related scandals, the Pentagon in the late 1980s began to subject units like the remote viewers to greater scrutiny.
Secretary of Defense Carlucci was looking for, on the tail of the Oliver North scams, Iran scam, was looking for other hip pocket organizations that might become political embarrassments. An Inspector General team was sent on behalf of the Secretary of Defense to review our operations. All the operations that represented many years of work were shredded by the civilian administrators. They burned up 2 shredders, literally burned the motors up in the shredders, trying to shred all the operations data.
The remote viewers say they were not given access to the IG report, but it doesn't seem to have been favorable, and in any case, the Cold War was over. The unit went into decline, its staff and budget dwindling. The SRI program by now had stopped altogether. Remote viewers were still used by the intelligence community, for example to help find Scud missiles during the Gulf War, but many of them were now working as private consultants. Earlier this year, the few remaining DIA viewers were moved from their old buildings at Fort Meade. Their whereabouts and the future of the program are unknown.
Many people have asked me what's my overall view of remote viewing. And it's been one mother of a surprise from the beginning until the end, even until this day. But the whole thing is a surprise because it's like it's occurred 50 or 100 years before the time it might have occurred in. You know, it seems to be a precursor to something else that might emerge in a civilization that's prepared to deal philosophically with the fact that human beings have undiscovered and undeveloped faculties. Right now, I don't see a future for it because of this mixed-up condition.
As far as the future of parapsychology and intelligence is concerned, I don't think there's a real important place for it. At the same time, no intelligence officer would ever turn his or her back totally on what could be a valuable source of information. So, were I in the CIA today, I would still be wanting them to monitor what's going on.
Well, I think even if we have not been successful so far, and if the Army has given it up as they have, but it still is a worthwhile pursuit for the same reasons that I thought it was originally. There's something there. We can't explain it. It works. If we can cause it to work more accurately and reliably, there are a lot of things it can do for us.
Hi, how are you?
Just fine.
Okay.
I couldn't get this close to the story of remote viewing without trying it myself, and I did train for several weeks with Ingo Swann, learning the techniques he had used and had trained others in a decade before.
Hard, rising,
Correct.
over, down,
Correct.
B, don't know, stage 2s, blue, white,
Correct. Correct.
brown,
Correct.
warm,
Correct.
smell
Correct.
of minerals,
Correct.
sulfur.
Sometimes, as in this training-type session with Swann, I used map coordinates and got constant feedback throughout the session. On other occasions, I had no map coordinates and no monitor to give me feedback, and thus was totally blinded to the target. On the whole, my data were full of inaccuracies, but I described the targets well enough, and often enough, to convince myself anyway, that a remote viewing was not just some delusion.
Rising,
Correct.
steam,
Correct.
vapor,
Correct.
water.
Correct. I'm going to ask you to review your data.
There's white, there's motion, there's falling, there's crusted stuff, hard crusted stuff, there's smell of minerals, sulfur, water, trickling and hissing noises. This has all the signs of some kind of hot springs. Okay, well, I just was going to do an AOL, which is geyser.
Okay. We'll end.
Old paper.
Perfect session.
There were even times when I did so well, I began to think I could make it to the big leagues myself, if given the chance. Maybe I could be one of the select few, a shaman spy. It was a seductive idea, and perhaps a dangerous one. Would I be able to handle the personal transformation that full-time remote viewing seemed to bring about? Maybe not. In the end, I decided I'd leave the serious remote viewing to the real pros, the ones already transformed, the ones who have learned to cope every day with the impossible.
After having spent many years remote viewing, at least 20, officially remote viewing, I tend to remote view constantly. It's not something I have to sit down and actively pursue. I don't have to get into an altered state anymore. It's become a part of my being, a part of my life. It's as if you have a scanner, a radio scanner or something. I always have a channel open that is ready to receive these inputs that come from other realms, other states, psychic state, I guess maybe you'd call it.